So what? Do we have the clicker? We have the clicker.
Do we have a pointer? Yeah.
This was one of many memorable quotes of Roger Pulwarty in the opening session. 3 days of conference saves you 4 hours of Google. Now, who agrees with that after this conference? Who would rather have spent 4 hours on Google?
We can do both.
Good.
That's the right answer.
So just to remind you, each of the session chairs was asked to write a response to us in Twitter form to each of these 3 questions. What's the challenge you discussed during your session? How has your session helped to address this challenge? And what next steps are needed and by whom? And what we found are that both practitioners and scientists are pretty good at responding, but practitioners are better at counting characters.
We are more concise, I'm sorry, Richard. It's going to be very difficult for us to try to cover everything that we found in the messages, so please bear with us in these key messages. The first thing is that there is still an acknowledgement of existing silos. I'm not going to cover them all, but I'm going to talk about one in particular. And that is through reminding you all that adaptation is a means to an end. It is not an end on its own right. Ultimately, we are here to contribute to bigger societal problems: poverty and development, biodiversity loss, land degradation, economic prosperity. So we need to start thinking about adaptation in the context of these other agendas. And not doing so is a missed opportunity, and it will make our strategies on adaptation less effective. So let's recognize and try to understand these agendas, feed into them, tap into the financial opportunities that they offer, and learn from them, because they have also faced challenges as the ones that we are facing in adaptation.
Now, interestingly, in science, silos also exist. Silos have existed since science was developed and emerged. Silos are, in a way, a good thing because they are providing you the depth, the disciplinary depth that is necessary. Interestingly, climate adaptation research seems to emerge as a silo. Is that necessarily a good thing? We're not sure. But it is important that, particularly also for young people, you have one foot in a discipline that could be natural science, it could be social science, it could be humanities, it could be economics. But to make sure that the breadth that is needed to understand the challenge of adaptation is accompanied by the depth that you have in a particular discipline.
Breadth and depth, Richard. What are we going to do if we try to cover everything in this conference? Would it not become a conference about everything and for everyone? Can we do that?
A conference for everyone and everything, that will be about 20,000, 30,000 people in 2 years' time?
At least, yeah. Is that our next goal for in the next 2 years? Are we going to cover that?
What I think this conference is about, it's a conference for champions, or for leaders, as Vivian says. It is a conference that brings together people who represent their communities, their constituencies, their disciplines, and go home with an important message and share that. It's a conference for champions. It's a conference that shows you the big picture. The big picture.
The big picture. Again, tip of the iceberg. This is just an image that we generated with word cloud to show you the kind of challenges and issues that were represented in the tweets that you sent us. Clearly, we're going to look at other ways to collect and disseminate the information from those messages beyond this synthetic review. But hopefully, you can see the issues that you discussed in your sessions represented here.
And one example of specializing is actually regional specialization. The global big picture conference that we have here has also spun off a number of different ones, including within Europe. So this is a quick introduction to the European Climate Change Adaptation Conference that will take place in Glasgow in June 2017. And this is just one example of a number of regional workshops and conferences that are being held. If you want to know more about the European Climate Change Adaptation Conference, talk to Paula Harrison, who may well be somewhere in this room.
Another of the challenges and issues that was discussed throughout the conference was the importance of building adequate narratives. Some people talked about the business case, some people talk about delivering relevant and adequate scientific information to decision makers. So I think it's clear that we need to continue improving the way in which we tell a strong and compelling story to the different audiences in order to engage them in these issues.
Now, storytelling is all very nice, but as an academic, I don't think it's enough. We need analysis. We need analysis of the stories to find out what the commonalities are, what the lessons are that we can learn in order to upscale the adaptation efforts that are needed. We need analysis in order to understand what works and what doesn't work. Stories are good, case studies are important, but in the end, they will only go so far as informing the people involved in that particular story. The important role of science is to learn from those stories and to draw lessons that go beyond that through analysis.
But let's not forget, it is about people and values, not just about numbers and figures. Gaps, many, many gaps. Please don't expect me to cover them all, and I'm sorry if I don't mention particular ones that are of concern to your country or to your area. But I will talk about one in particular, and is moving from planning to implementation. And I think it is clear that we should not wait until we have the perfect information to plan and to start implementing. In particular, to start fostering those collaborations and partnerships that are going to be necessary to break the different barriers that are not enabling us to implement at this stage. So I think governments and businesses make decisions on a daily basis without perfect information, and so should we.
And analysis is important, but also remind the other important quote for Roger in the first session. We should not help people do the wrong thing with better information. Work in progress, or next steps. Just like adaptation is a means to an end, this conference is a means to an end.
Well, since the last conference, I've had the privilege to go to all four, and I think that we've seen a huge explosion, a revolution in terms of the number of national, international initiatives, research agendas, new methodologies, new climate finance opportunities, climate service opportunities. And I think this is extremely good. This is the way we want to be heading. And we need to continue innovating and experimenting in this way and collaboratively. But in order to do it in an adequate manner, in an effective manner, we need to also monitor, evaluate, and disseminate the lessons to be learned from these experiences. Not all of these experiments will be successful. There will be some errors in the way. Let's share them. Let's make sure that that is one of our goals at the next conference.
Experiments are important, and so is accepting to make mistakes. As we try to find out what works and what doesn't work, some things will work better. Those things that don't work so well, whether that is in planning, in implementation, in governance, those are the opportunities to learn and make things work better next time. And you're right, there is a need to evaluate and to share lessons, and that's exactly what we're here for.
Correct.
Thank you.